questions I have around property managers, I guess, for a first-time investor that doesn't really have any idea. What are some of the things we should look out for or ask a property manager to see if they're one of the property management types to help us with, like, go that extra mile and help us with renovations or projects or things like that?
Look, I think you just need to be completely upfront from the get-go and outline exactly what your expectations are and what you're wanting from that property manager, and just get it really structured, because a lot of property managers don't do it. And it's not because they don't want to do it. A lot of the time they're just pushed for time, especially if they're doing end-to-end management. So in the industry, that's when you've got one property manager dealing with the tenant, the house, and the owner. So they do all the maintenance, the whole kit and caboodle. And even with manageable portfolio sizes and really great systems in place, to take on that extra role for that particular landlord is huge, and it is time consuming. So I think definitely ask the question, if the property manager is willing to do it, do they have the time? And then what's their strategy behind it? How do they fit that into their current schedule that they do? And, obviously you want to know your timelines. How often can they get to the property? Is it going to be an issue meeting trades? All of that sort of stuff. And just be really frank with them. And if they say, look, we can't offer that service, see if they can recommend someone that can, or look at your other options. But yeah, we want to know how big their portfolio size is as well, if you're looking at taking on a property manager, to get that extra information through.
Yeah, so if you mean portfolio size as in how many rentals they have, or how many properties themselves they have?
How many properties themselves they have.
As an individual?
In their portfolio. No, in their portfolio, yeah.
As a property manager?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to be clear.
Yes.
What's your sort of magic? Like, people throw out that 100 or 150. What's your magic number that you think a property manager can realistically manage or should be managing?
Look, every property manager is different. And in our office, we've got a property manager who only sits on around 100, but her hours are different. And then we've got a property manager who sits on about 180. So it just depends on what the property manager wants. Fortunately for us, where we are, Ashley runs a very good business, and the property managers can get to a point where they feel comfortable. And if they don't want any more, then they can say, look, I can service these clients really well at this level, so I just want to stay here for now. Otherwise, or she can obviously take on more if she wants. So I think 150 is about the norm.
Yeah, nice. That's the norm. And when does it start to cut out? When are you seeing
probably at the 200 mark?
Yeah, okay. So I guess 180 is for an absolute gun PM, and then 150 for the just to what is sustainable. Because that is a good question, because you do see property managers who have 200, like some people even flaunt it. I have 250 rentals, and it's like, well, why is that a challenge? Why is 250 so crazy?
And you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't even come down to the numbers. What it comes down to is how well you can service your clients and your tenants and your property. Whether you've got 5 properties or 50 properties, if you're dropping the ball, you're dropping the ball. Do you know what I mean? And it's not necessarily the amount. It'd be, it could be poor time management or whatever. So
what are the pros and cons, or how do you actually buy remotely? And as part of that will be pros and cons. So how do people do it, Sam? I suppose they speak to you, but what's your process for helping people?
So obviously they'll contact me with wanting some information about general suburbs. So firstly, I think it's important for an investor to choose one little pocket, and then maybe have 3 or 4 suburbs, not be looking across the whole Perth metro, because, you're never going to buy anything if you're looking at 5,000 suburbs. So we go through that together. We fine tune what areas they want to look at based on their budget and all that sort of jazz. And then it's, for me, I have to go and see the property. Do you know what I mean? I can do as many desktop appraisals and Google Street View map things as much as I want, but without having that boots on the ground and getting through the property to really see what it is that they're buying. And when I go and look at a house, I'm looking at lots of different things, but, I'm looking for potential problems. Is this house about to fall down, or are the gutters buggered, or Is it missing anything? Is it missing an aircon? Would it need a dishwasher? So all of those things I'll look for. I do a few detailed videos for them, so I sort of break it up. I'll do commentary the whole way through. So when I'm sending my videos through to my clients, I'll always start with, grab a paper and a pen to write some notes down as I go. We'll work out what the property needs, if it needs anything, what the potential issues are. And it's definitely not to beat agents down on price or anything like that. It's just so that the client is fully aware of the property so that they can make an informed decision. And then, on all of that, we're also looking at rentability. What has this property got that's different from the one down the street? So when they're both online at the same time for rent, we want people to come to us and we want them to pay the most amount of money for it. So, it's a little bit of that as well. So definitely boots on the ground is a must, and choosing that right person to look for you. So I know that some people do use Airtaskers and stuff like that to look at properties, which is great. And obviously people can choose a property manager as well. So it's just making sure that when they're going there, having them looking at the property for you, that they are looking for those potential problems and telling you what's missing, so that you're not going to get any surprises once it's settled and you've got someone going, you got no aircon or you got no dishwasher. So that's.
So if I was to, go onto Airtasker now as just a normal everyday investor, what would that list of things look like that you would ask them? Hey, Miss Airtasker, Mrs. Airtasker, look, I can't get there, but I want you to go into this property and look at X. Like, how would you frame that into a
list? So I would say, I want you to go into this property. I want you to start at the front of the property. I want you to look for any, pan the camera around nice and slowly, look for any damages visually to you that you can see from ground level. Once you've walked into the property, I want you to tell me, how big is this room? Is this room going to fit, a king size bed in it or what have you? Get them to visually tell you what's going on, because it always looks different through the camera, and then put things in place to say, yes, you would fit a king size bed in here, or look down at the flooring, feel it under your foot, like, is this hollow flooring, is it breaking up, and just get them to really look at it as if they're buying it for themselves, really.
I think the other thing, people need to make sure they're zooming out on the video, because some people, I've had people go and inspect
and not move the camera too quick.
Yeah, exactly. It's always much slower than you think.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's absolute key to, and you want to be able to give, or I want to be able to give my clients the best possible videos and the most amount of information I can give them about the property, so that they can make a really confident decision, and they know full well what they're buying. Whether it is coming with a little bit of baggage or a little bit of work that needs to be done, so be it. At least we're aware of what it is, and we can plan for it and we can budget for it, and and that's what we do.
I do love a good renovation, but what are the mistakes that you see, Samantha, in renovations done remotely with people that aren't necessarily, people that should be doing it? How yeah.
I think the biggest mistake that people make is they underestimate what the cost is going to be and the timeline it takes. So, I mean, Joe, when we're talking about a property that needs renovation, we'll always factor in that vacancy period. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, that's loss of income. So we like to factor that in, and people will just underestimate, and they're not prepared for the surprises, because we can only see so much. And sometimes when you start digging around and start renovating a property, you get these little hairballs come up. So, it's good to be able to factor all that in, but so many people don't. And then, if you're shopping around for the cheapest trade, you're probably going to get, a cheap job. So I think that people need to be mindful, and really just, if you're going in for a renovation job, know your budget, know what it needs, get some quality trades, and, really get into it, because, if you just try and do it half-assed, it's just going to end up.
The amount of time in my life.
Not
inside renovations, not inside property, outside, just in any situation, you get what you pay for. no matter how you try and skin it, you can get 10%, 5% discounts and things like that, but you absolutely get what you pay for. If you get the cheapest absolute rubbish thing, you will get a rubbish result at the end of it. Okay, so just do we get 3 quotes for a trade? Like, is that how it works? Or
so none of your professional trades will quote for free. So sparkies, aircons, plumbers, they're not going to go out and quote a job for free. So fortunately with me, I can call my guys and go, look, this is the situation. This is what I've got. They can give me some rough figures over the phone. I can relay that back to the client, and then they can go, yeah, I'm happy to proceed. Then he'll go out and have a look. And, generally the price comes in similar to what he's already quoted over the phone. So, you can try and get 3 quotes for stuff like painting or any landscaping. Your carpet guys will quote for free. Your window treatments, so blinds, curtains, they'll all go out and quote for free. If you are taking on a renovation yourself and your property is sitting empty, you need to have a lockbox on site. So have a lockbox on site and make sure that you've had someone go and check that the property is secure, so that whilst it's sitting vacant for this 6, 8, 10 weeks that it's taking you to renovate, it doesn't, it's not at risk of being broken into, or doesn't scream, this property's vacant, come in. So yeah, absolutely have a lockbox on site and just make sure the property is secure.
Granny flats in WA. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this, Sam? Are they a great option, or I mean, obviously case by case, but what are your thoughts on that? Are they an opportunity in WA?
Yeah, look, I love the idea of granny flats in WA, and not only because obviously you can have that potential for dual income on your investment property, but it just opens, I just think it opens the doors to so many different options. Do you know what I mean? Because you could use that space for anything, regardless of, whether you're own, you sell your investment later on, that person's got a 5x3 now instead of a 4x2 or what have you. It doesn't suit every property. So if you are looking at it from an investment point of view and you want that dual income set up, you need to make sure that you've got good driveway access and, good fencing and all that sort of jazz for privacy. I'm a huge fan. My property managers are not so much. Every time I sort of bring on a property when I've hinted that we're going to put a granny flat on it, they sort of do the eye roll at me like, because it can be that much extra work for a property manager. But I'll make sure that it's as smooth as possible for them. But I've seen some great results, and I'm a huge fan.
So with granny flats, actually, a great example is the Janet one that we did. It had an existing granny flat. So are you talking about deals that already have existing granny flats on them, or building? Like, is it worthwhile building in Perth? Maybe that's might not be a question that you can really answer too confidently, but is it worthwhile buying a property, like a large property, a good property on a large block, and then chucking a granny flat on the back?
Yeah, I think so. So it just depends on how much you're spending on the granny flat, because you've got 2 different sorts. You've got your prefab, which is going to be cheaper, which is what we've got at Janet. And then you've got your brick builds, which generally is built by Summit, and they can be quite expensive, but they're a lot nicer. And you have to keep in mind that if you're purchasing a property and you're putting a tenant in the main house and your goal is to put a granny flat in the backyard, you have to have those terms negotiated prior to build, because you can't give the tenant the whole property and then chop it in halfway through. So, that's something that you'll just work through with your property manager. But, I think it's great, especially the prefab ones, as far as turnaround time and cost. And they're nice inside. They're lovely. So great for, the older teenagers, great for people that have got mum and dad, elderly mum and dad at home, or home office. So, and it does add the value.
Well, that was like, Janet might be a good example. We had a 3-in-1, a three bedroom, 1 bathroom. We won't give you the location or anything like that. We paid $565,000 for it, and it had a granny flat on the back. And the plan, what was the plan for the rental side of things for that? Because we ended up renting it for one family. So it wasn't like, let's put someone in the front and put someone in the back. That was the plan, but it didn't end up working like that.
No, it didn't. So, and that sometimes happens, and that's up to the owner to accept or decline that application based on what they want to do. So We set the property up so that it could be leased as a dual let, marketed the property, and we had a family turn up who said, you know what, this would be perfect for our older son. We'll offer to pay X. You know, does the owner want to accept it? And took it to the owner, and the owner was like, yep, I'm happy with that. So it was still a really good outcome for the owner. And I mean, these tenants are long-term tenants, and they're paying really good rent. But yeah, we did set it up so that it could be a dual let. So when they vacate, we've got the option to do that again. Everything is ready to go.
That's kind of the cool thing for me, is it because you're getting a real premium rent for that front house with the extra granny flat, which is essentially an extra room and bathroom and bedroom and living space. And it gives me comfort as an investor, because it's like, well, I don't want to put a granny flat on it because I can't rent it. Well, that person's paying almost as much as what 2 individual rents would be. So you're going to be fine. It's an extra value add, because now you've got all that extra space for a teenager, an older person that wants a bit of independence but wants to be close to the family. So, yeah. How does a newbie investor develop the mindset to deal with the risk headaches associated with some of the risk management strategies for an investor? So how should an investor think about these problems? Because you don't.
That's a really
you
great
want
question.
the easy, you want to set and forget.
You do want to set and forget, and you know, having good people in your team is key. So whether you're using a buyer's agent, having a really knowledgeable accountant that understands what your portfolio goals are, you know, having your mortgage broker on hand, having your property management agency, all of these people are going to do their role that they need to play within your investment journey. And they're all going to, you know, there's always going to be that element of risk. But if you've got a really good team behind you, and it's not just your agent, you know, as you guys know, there's a lot more to it, even your conveyancer. So if you've got a really good team behind you, your risk is small, and well, you know, you can manageable for the risk. So good landlord insurance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, make sure you read those PDFs for sure.
Yeah, but a good agent and a good buyer's agent and a good accountant, you know, if you've got all those things in place, you're buying a property, you know, not most of the time you're going to be okay. And if your tenant does go pear-shaped for whatever reason, your agent is there to help you get through that. And in worst case scenario, your insurance will be there to help with the financial loss.